I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off-road. The guy managed the group. He was like, what are you doing in this beautiful car? I'm like, I'm going off-road. He's like, are you sure? Because you can use one of ours. And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability, as well as its robust interior, are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show on the Choose Yourself Network. Today on the James Altucher Show.
Many of the most successful people I know did not go to college. Now, those are just anecdotes, but it's going to go more from anecdotal to choice in the coming years.
If they're going to be undertaking the debt, let's say as a parent, you can't pay for it. Let's say as a parent, you're going to make the decision they're going to apply for grants and scholarships and you're going to help out a little. But I think as a parent, you've got to help your children not just make good education decisions, but make good financial decisions. And it's not a great financial decision for an 18-year-old who really doesn't know what they want to do when they grow up to enter into 6 figures worth of debt on something that may or may not ROI. And I think if we will acknowledge that a college degree is not a prerequisite to success or happiness in life, that we will not, as parents or as kids or as educators or as employers, determine that it is a necessary requirement.
I've got Ryan Deiss with me. You know, you sent me a note the other day through my producer about your views on college, and they struck me as being very similar to mine. But for once, I get to be the devil's advocate. I think people now in college, and I think you agree, don't learn the basic skills needed to survive in today's world, and they end up in the cubicle wishing they were Ryan Deiss selling things, you know, in these innovative ways and meeting people and flying around and you know, kind of being their own boss. And corporatism is sort of leading to this world where everyone's worried about their job anyway. Salaries are going down, debt's going up, automation's happening across every industry in ways that we don't even understand yet. The world's changing very fast. So maybe describe what some of your views are. And I'm gonna play the devil's advocate against you.
Sure. Thank you for having me. I mean, the origin of this idea, and I woke up, you know, I sent that email like 4 o'clock in the morning. I woke up really early.
Great email, by the way. You should always do your thinking at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's where I'm clearly the smartest. No, but I have a lot of, probably 80-90% of the people that work for me are millennials, right? And I had just been talking to a bunch of them kind of the day before and really like enjoyed the conversation and enjoyed being around them. And on the drive home, I'm listening to the radio and everybody's talking about how, millennials are so entitled. And it just struck me like for the first time that this isn't right. Like, why is this happening? You know, why is there this prevailing kind of just accepted thing that, millennials are entitled, and yet, you know, the kids that work for me are great, but I know that they have challenges. And what I realize is that the promise that was made to them, the same one that was made to me and probably the same one that was made to you, go to college, you'll get a good job, simply isn't true anymore. And it wasn't true for them. They weren't necessarily told a lie, but they were told something that wasn't true.
By the way, it
wound up
probably
to not be
wasn't
true
for us because neither you or I do what we went to college for.
Right. But there was at
it was
least-
still there was still this kind of social need. Like people say, "Oh, where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to school?" Like,
Right.
like everybody we knew went to school. Now it's not always the case. Now many of the most successful people I know did not go to college. Now those are just anecdotes, but
Right.
but it's going to go more from anecdotal to choice in the coming years.
Yeah, and I think the college degree has kind of become the Little League participation trophy kind of thing. And so as a result, you don't have the value that's there. And I know as an employer, we don't even ask people where they went to college. So I just got to thinking, like, where is this headed? Because I'm a father of 4 kids, they're going to go to college.
I'm sorry to always interrupt,
Yeah.
but you said 2 things. One is college is like the participation trophy now. So it's like kids just for showing up seem to get a trophy. There's a trophy for everything.
Right.
And it's now as an adult, it's almost like you need to show this participation trophy to be accepted, but there's not much more value than that is what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's kind of everyone. It's the adults, all the people older than us that are handing out these participation trophies and these diplomas, and
they're
we're kind
very
of like,
expensive.
yeah, they're incredibly expensive. And I remember when I got mine, I was like, okay, cool, because I graduated, because I was there, but it's sitting under my bed, like it doesn't have an enormous amount of meaning to me because it didn't actually take me where it was supposed to, or where I thought it would. I majored first in psychology, then in ancient Greek, then in I tried to get into the business school but couldn't, so I went into
Because ancient
communications.
Greek is fucking useless.
It was the C in ancient Greek that hurt my chances for B school.
So the other thing you said though was that you don't even ask your millennials to have if they have a college degree because and I think that needs to be just dissected a little bit. It's because you care about skills more than a certificate.
Because I know that there's nowhere that anybody can go to college and learn the skills that I truly need.
And you're in the basic bread and butter of buying and selling, which is what business has been about for
exactly
10,000 years.
Exactly. But there's nobody who's coming out of marketing school who's going to learn these things. And even if a college were to decide, we're going to start a digital marketing program, it changes so quickly that by
Every
the time
day.
they got the thing spun up, it would already be outdated.
Yeah, like Facebook ads, they changed their algorithm last month, so that changed.
Yeah,
you
so
can't teach that in a class.
Congratulations. What you learned yesterday is largely irrelevant.
Yeah.
So I just what I realized is that this is an issue. And I've got I have 4 kids. My oldest is 11. So I've got some time to think about this. But I'm like,
do you have time with 4 kids?
That's why I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to do my thinking.
Yeah.
But do I care if they go to college? No.
But let me play devil's advocate.
No.
I love playing devil's advocate here because I'm going to ask you all the questions people constantly ask me.
All right, this should be fun.
So socialization. They don't know how to be an adult yet when they're 18. From 18 to 22, they get to live on their own. They meet friends that they're going to bond with forever, and in business and so on. They get to meet their peers. They learn how to be adults. So that's the first question people ask me.
I met my wife in college. I'm thankful for that. But I think that to call certainly your first couple of years of college as like, this is where you learn to be an adult, I think is mildly absurd. Mm-hmm. The best place to learn to be an adult is to go and get a job. You can socialize around peers in the workforce. That's what happens immediately after college.
Yeah, because,
what difference does it make if that starts at 18 or 19?
If you think about it, like from 18 to 22, if you go to college, you're still friends with basically all people the same age as you, and mostly the same demographic. Like,
and
we're friends, and how old are you?
Stupid ideas. I'm 37.
Right, so I'm 49. Okay,
right.
We would never have been friends in college because you were a little kid when I was in college.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I think the idea of socializing and learning to be an adult around everybody else, it's like learning to drive a car from a guy who's also learning to drive a car. So I think, if you can afford to send your kids to college and they want to go to college so they don't have to be encumbered by all this debt and they want to be, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an astronaut, one of these kind of things where you do need a degree, then great. But to go to college because you're still trying to figure out who you want to be, that's a terrible place to figure that out and insanely expensive.
Right, like a lot of parents say to me, a lot of devil's advocates say to me, oh, my kid's not motivated. Not everyone's an entrepreneur. My kid's not motivated enough yet, so maybe during college they'll figure it out. But I always say, why are you going to spend X amount of dollars for them to just figure something out?
Yeah, go get a job. When I was in college, I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I worked in addition to going to school and starting my company, starting my business. So because I wanted to find out, I wanted to see, what do I want to be? I want to try different things out. And truly, I believe that's, I don't think that necessarily everyone should be an entrepreneur. I think really most people, especially when they're young, go work under a master. That's how it used to be. It was apprenticeship.
Yeah, and if you think about it, what changed is kind of several things changed simultaneously, and we don't link them together. But what changed was from, let's say, the 1700s when, like Ben Franklin was an apprentice, and that's how he learned the printing business and so on, and became a very wealthy man as a result. But what changed from the 1700s to the 1800s is the Industrial Revolution, where the average person became linked to a number, an output of a factory. And if you think about it, that's when education changed to be numbers focused. Like we get a grade, we get a test score, you're ranked and GPA and so on. So I think these things are all linked together and don't really hold anymore. We are going back to a world where real mastery is rewarded.
We also, as a society, started elevating white collar and started really crapping on blue collar,
and that's being automated now anyway. Or being outsourced. Blue collar.
A lot of the white collars, a lot of the blue collar. When you think of true mastery, like an electrician. So when my dad graduated from high school, he didn't go to college. He went. So I don't think that this is even this idea of apprenticeship is that old. I mean, it's existed in a major way for a really long time. And he never thought, oh, I'll go to college. He thought, I want to get a good job. I want to learn a trade. I want to learn a skill. So he went and apprenticed under a master electrician, and he started as a journeyman and worked his way up. And these have existed in the trades forever. But this is how the trades have been done. It's just we look at the trades and we say, yeah, but I don't want to do that. But in reality, digital marketing is a trade. Coding is a trade. If we're really being honest, dentists, they're mechanics for your mouth, right? We have drawn these arbitrary lines and we have declared that this type of profession is good. This type of profession, it's because you weren't smart enough to do that over there. And yet, show me a craftsman, a woodworker, and their skill, and put that against kind of your person who graduated from, let's say they graduated from Wharton with an MBA, right? Which one truly, at the end of the day, could you look at their work product and say, which one would you have the most respect for? Give me that craftsman all day long. They've learned a skill under a master.
So another devil's advocate question is, look, you took ancient Greek. For the rest of your life, you'll never really be able to concentrated study ancient Greek again, and maybe you loved it, and obviously there's nothing you can do with it, but that college was your last chance to kind of understand the great literature of history and so on. Now, I don't believe it's your last chance, but how do you respond to that?
I mean, it's just factually untrue. I mean, as recently as like just yesterday, I'm studying courses, taking courses on art history, something that I've always wanted to take. I do actually intend to, take up ancient Greek again. I was really, really bad at it because I had a hard time memorizing the vocabulary. But I do think studying ancient manuscripts and stuff like that is fun. Like I said, I love art. No, there's more opportunities than ever before.
It's true.
To learn these things. Harvard has made all their courses available. I mean,
Harvard, MIT,
anything. It's freely available.
I'll tell you, I about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, I took a course, A Brief History of Humankind on Coursera. You know the site Coursera?
Of course.
And Yuval Harari, this random Israeli professor, was teaching it. Then he wrote a book based on the course called Sapiens. It became a bestseller. Mm-hmm. Bill Gates recommends it. And now I finally had him on my podcast a few weeks ago. And so here was this thing I never studied in college. I was able to study this amazingly brilliant historical course on this online course, and then eventually had the guy on my podcast after he published his bestseller. So it's not like education dies when you're out of college.
No, I think it becomes far more readily available. Now, what it may mean is, as an adult, instead of watching TV, you take a class, right?
Which people are doing.
Absolutely, right? But this idea that you just have no time, that's horse crap. Mm-hmm. You've got plenty of time. I work, and I've got kids and I want to play with them, and on the, weekends I'm hanging out with them, but I find time to learn. You have to make it, you have to carve it out, you have to schedule it. But to say that, college, that was your That was your last chance.
That was it.
That's just,
Then you die.
yeah, well, okay.
So okay. Another devil's advocate question. I can't. There are two tiers of jobs I can't get without a college degree right now. One is the ones that by law require a degree. So lawyer, doctor. This is not by law, but astronaut.
Yeah.
But maybe pilot requires a college degree. I don't even know. Like an Air Force pilot or whatever. And then there's the second tier, which is I can't get a job at Goldman Sachs or kind of these high prestige places. I can't get a job without a degree. So what do you say to those people?
I say if you feel like that, if you're really confident that that's what you want to do, then you should absolutely go the degreed path, because that is where that is today. If you say, all I want to be is an investment banker at Goldman Sachs, then yeah, there is a well-worn path that you would probably do right by to follow. But aside from those 9 people, right? I mean, that's like the number of people who truly want to do that versus the number of people who feel like they should do that, versus the number of people who actually get to do that. It's kind of like if you want to be a professional baseball player, yeah, you need to play in high school and college to do this stuff, right? You aren't just going to saunter onto the field one day with your bat over your shoulder and be like, I'd like to try out. So these are examples where, yes, and if my child, because I think as a parent, like what would I say if my son or daughter says, I'm really interested in architecture or engineering, or I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, then I'd say, okay, go to college. We have the means to do that without you being encumbered by all that debt. So by all means, go to college. Now, if we didn't have the means, I'd say, great, I'm going to tap my network for everybody that I can, and I'm going to try to get you an internship, even if you're fetching coffee in a law office or in a medical thing, so that you can begin to earn some money being around it, seeing, do you like this lifestyle? Because that's another thing people fail to ask themselves when they're approaching a career opportunity. They don't ask themselves, do I want this lifestyle? They say, do I want to do what they do, or do I want to make what they make? You really need to look at it. It's part of the reason when I got jobs in college, I wanted to find and talk to people who had been doing that career and they were old, rich, and happy. There's tons of careers, like Goldman being one of them, where you got a lot of old, rich, miserable people.
Right.
So
I mean, it's so true about lifestyle. Like when I went to college and then graduate school, I wanted to be a computer science professor. That was like my goal. But I didn't know any at the time who were happy. They all wanted to be entrepreneurs or do something else. They were doing artistic stuff. Like they hated the politics of being a professor and so on. So eventually I actually was thrown out of grad school because I stopped going to class. But
that'll do it.
Yes, that'll do it. And I started to really kind of model myself after, well, what lifestyles do I want to emulate? And none of them required a college degree.
And I think that's the other point, right? So, carve off the ones that do require a college degree. If you want to go that route, then yes, you need to make that happen somehow. But the vast majority don't, especially the vast majority of the careers that are up and coming. You think about digital marketing, which is a career today. You think about brand management. You think about coding, project management, product, all these new emerging careers. You can get hired at really great companies, mine included, without having a college degree. They don't ask. They need to know that you know the skills. So
skills and ideas are the currency now. It's not just having
and give a
damn.
I mean, give a damn. I mean, that's the
you have to present
all
well.
the things that I can't teach. Right? I can't teach give a damn, and I can't teach empathy.
Okay, so tell me what you mean by give a damn. Tell me what does it mean you can't teach give a damn?
Just showing up, looking around, and saying, how can I add value without being told to do it? Mm-hmm. So all the fastest performers, rising stars in my different companies are people who show up every day looking for ways to add value to the company, right? And they'll come to me with ideas. I mean, there's Molly, who is our VP of marketing at DigitalMarketer. We hired Molly as an intern, social media intern. She was working for a distillery and was a bartender, and 2 years prior to that was still in college. But Molly showed up and said, I really want to do this. I really want to try this. This would be interesting. So we said, okay, go try it. And then she did it. What most people say
What'd you do? What'd she do that caught your eye?
She specifically started running Facebook ads early on when it was kind of difficult and complicated, but she dove in, figured it out, said, can I go to this training? Can I buy this course? I want to learn this. But the key is she did it. What most people say is, I'd like to do this, so will you teach me how to do that, but pay me for it today as if I already know how to do it? She grabbed hold of it and ran with it. And yeah, I mean, Molly had a college degree, but that never mattered. We didn't hire her because of her degree. We didn't even ask for it. Give a damn and empathy, like just genuinely caring about your teammates and the customers. Those are the two I can't teach.
Empathy.
Empathy. Yep.
How do you define empathy?
Being aware of others' kind of emotional state, being able to kind of play off of other people, having enough understanding of how do they feel right now and caring enough to kind of respond accordingly.
I feel like in your business, you're the guy who does that. And, not so much necessarily your other guys, but that's okay if one person does it.
Yeah, it's got to be there somewhere, right? We can never forget that we get paid to move people from less desirable before states to more desirable after states. So if you cannot empathize with where they are, which doesn't simply mean acknowledging, right? It means really getting down in it with them. So they go, okay, yeah, I believe that you're a worthy guide. I believe that you're someone who can take me out. I trust you to do that. Then absent that, then you're just kind of ad speak.
Let's stop to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com. You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players, and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So, I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply.
So let me play devil's advocate there. At college, did she learn the skills to learn? So she could then pick up the figure out, okay, I need to learn Facebook. Here's the steps I need to take because I learned these steps in college.
Did you learn that in college? I didn't. I learned to cram for tests and retain knowledge long enough to pass that test.
Right. So you learned how to memorize.
Yeah. I don't
pass.
feel like, I can't speak to her college experience, but I know I didn't. Right. I think, what is learning to learn? Learning to learn is actually focusing on a subject, and usually that requires a bit of interest. Like, it's easier to focus on things that we're sincerely interested in and give a damn, caring, right? Wanting to do a good job, desiring to do a good job, not just some kind of innate, I have a process for this kind of thing.
So let me ask your advice on something. So I wrote about this concept of not going to college, how it was a waste of both time and money, and it wasn't going to be necessary in the future. I wrote about this, I want to say 12 years ago, in a column in the Financial Times. And at that time, nobody was speaking about it, and everybody trashed me. And then I wrote a book, 40 Alternatives to College, uploaded it to Amazon, self-published it. It was the number one book for college, was a book about not going to college.
Perfect.
And so my kids know my opinion, but I have an 18-year-old daughter now. She's a senior in high school. All her friends are going to college. She could articulate why she wants to go to college, and I could poke holes in it all day long, but it's never going to get across to her, like 18-year-olds are 18-year-olds.
Right.
So what advice, if any, would you have for me to kind of maybe steer her away from the way she's thinking? Because I can't just directly tell her, no, you're not gonna do what you want to do, even though you're an adult.
Yeah, so I'm giving right now. So I'm actually giving you parenting advice right now.
Yeah.
Is that what's happening? Other
yeah,
people listening. What could go wrong? Right. What could go wrong? So you can send the therapy bills to me later.
Clearly,
on.
none of them. All the mothers listening are thinking like these two guys are about to just talk bullshit right now.
The collective head shaking has begun. No, really, I'll use my own children as an example. If they said, I really want to go to college. Okay, why? Like, let's evaluate the desired end result.
I'll tell her what she says.
Okay.
Well, all my friends are going. I feel I can't get a job without it, even though I can explain that's not true.
Right.
She believes her own thing.
Yeah.
And then she switched up a little bit. She's smart. She says, I want to be a neuroscientist. She's never expressed an interest in neuroscience in her entire life. But she's like, maybe I'm thinking to myself, she's thinking, oh, daddy will accept that as a reason.
So if I'm picturing, one of my daughters looking at me and saying, Daddy, I want to be a neuroscientist. Will you send me to college? And I would do it in a second because I'm not going to tell, my daughter that I think you're lying to me.
Right.
And the reality is if you want to be a neuroscientist, you have no choice but to go to college. So I'm going to be of limited help to you right here because that's the one thing to me, like that's the trump card. If a kid says, I really want to do this thing, but what I would say is that's fine. We will begin this process, but in addition to going to college, you will also get a part-time job, internship, preferably paid, but free is fine. You will begin working in that field that you would like to go into, and I want you to tell me if you're really enjoying it.
All right.
I would apply those, those two principles to it and say, we're going to be taking this money, and every dollar that you make is going to go towards paying towards this education.
I'm going to also try to steer her at least a little bit towards a gap year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Or maybe, I could also make an argument. I remember a friend of mine, they got married, and his father-in-law at the time, future father-in-law said, look, here's the deal, guys. I can either spend like $100,000 on a wedding, or I'll just give you $50,000 cash, and you can go like elope somewhere. You'll have more money for yourselves, and I won't spend as much, and it'll probably be better for all involved. And they took the $50,000.
To be fair, I've been also hinting at that, and she has told me, and this is an interesting, another devil's advocate thing. She told me, I basically offered her the Altucher fellowship, which is like, I'll pay her to spend a year doing whatever she wants and writing a book of essays. She's got to publish a book of essays, and I'll help her publish it. And I think she's a good writer for her age and could learn to be better. But she came back at me and said, I would think about this, but I feel like I need a little more structure in my life. She's telling me this.
Dude,
So,
the reality is you were screwed from the beginning because it's your daughter.
Right.
So she's going to be smart. And all kids are going to rebel at 18. And so they can't help but take the opposing position to their parents. So just accept the fact that you're screwed.
It's true. And they're so clever how they do it because they've spent more time studying you than you have been studying them.
It's like the squirrel trying to like climb the pole to get up to the bird feeder thing. Like they have all day to figure that thing out. Think about how much time your 18-year-old daughter has compared to you. Right. She's got all the time in the world to ponder this stuff. So yeah. No, but I mean, I think the bigger lesson is, from what I would do from a tactical standpoint, if you say, I want to go to college because I want to do this thing, that's fine, but you have to work in there at the same time. We will get you the job, we'll get it set up, free, paid, whatever. You have to experience the two at the same time. Because I don't want to pay for something, and especially if they're going to be undertaking the debt. Let's say as a parent, you can't pay for it. Let's say as a parent, you're going to make the decision to, they're going to apply for grants and scholarships, and you're going to help out a little. But I think as a parent, you've got to help your children not just make good education decisions, but make good financial decisions. And it's not a great financial decision for an 18-year-old who really doesn't know what they want to do when they grow up to enter into 6 figures worth of debt on something that may or may not ROI.
I mean, think about it. Like, you have 4 kids. Let's say you pay for, let's take out the debt equation for a second, which is really crazy. I mean, there's $1.6 trillion in student loan debt now. You have 4 kids. You could be spending up to $1 million on their educations, which is like, close to $2 million pre-tax. Like, you have to make a lot of money to send 4 kids to, a school that might not be worth it to them.
Yeah, which is why if they want to go, I will support them in that. But they need to be working in that field. And when they say, I don't know what I want to do, or maybe this isn't the best idea, cool. Then you're done. We're not paying for that anymore.
Right.
Right. You can
That's
go
the
and
hard
work.
part of
You can come
saying
work
that.
for me. Yeah, but I'm pretty heartless when it comes to my children. No, I think I believe that it is really the best, the best thing for them because I don't want, and I wouldn't ask them to take on that debt, right? But I don't want to take on that debt. Look, you're not the only one in this family. There's 3 more of you, right? Plus there's me and, your mom and all other things that we would like to do with this. So you don't just get to arbitrarily decide that because you want to go to a 4-year-long summer camp to find yourself that I got to be out of, $250,000. Like that just isn't how life works. And I think if we will acknowledge that a college degree is not a prerequisite to success or happiness in life, that we will not, as parents or as kids or as educators or as employers, determine that it is a necessary requirement.
So I think 10 years ago, like I said before, it would have been hard for us to have this discussion. Even I think the good thing is these discussions are happening. Online courses are actually great. Like they're great online courses, just as good as any college course or better. And also many college curriculums are completely online. Like MIT is completely, the classes are videotaped, the homework's online, the tests online, they're graded. You can do everything MIT online except get the degree itself, and you can do it for free. So there's a lot of these opportunities out there. These discussions are happening. I hope people are listening. But how long do you think it'll take before this is actually back to normal, meaning you don't have to go to college?
I think someone needs to step up and fill the gap in terms of who is going to take on the burden of education. Because right now we're asking kids to do that. They clearly can't afford it. We're asking parents to do it. They absolutely can't afford it in most cases.
And they're scared because the parents are scared because other parents are sending their kids to college. Their kids are begging. It's just still part of the structure.
Yeah, it sucks. It really is. Like, I deal with it now with 4 kids, literally with summer camp. There's some parents that can afford to send their kids to summer camp, and there's some parents where it's really a stretch. But they'll do really difficult things so that they can send their kids to summer camp because they want them to have that experience, but really they don't want to see their status reduced. And now you fast forward 10 years, and these 8-year-olds are 18, and they're making the same decision with the same motivations about college for just tack on an extra couple of zeros to that.
Couple of zeros.
And it's awful. So it's not the kids, it's not the parents. The government, long term, I don't believe that's sustainable. I don't want to get overly political, but the idea that the government should pay for everybody to go to college just sounds really expensive, and then it becomes the ultimate participation trophy. So I don't see that as a solution. I think the only one who's left are really the businesses, and I believe that business owners like myself, like you, people who hire people, I believe that we should carry more of the burden of education on our backs. And if we're willing to make that investment, we'll recruit and retain some of the smartest people in the world.
What do you mean burden of education? So let's think about this practically. Like, are you saying you'll take actual time and, as you say, one buys the other? Will you take actual time and money responsibility to be a part of someone's educational process?
Yeah. So we'll run internship programs over the summer, right? That could extend into the year where and it's a paid internship where it's come in. We have zero expectation of you actually adding any value in your time here. We hope that you do.
But it'll take away time from your employees.
We're going to teach this stuff. Yeah, it's going to take away time from us. Our employees are going to need to invest. We're paying money for employees that are delivering no value. They leave learning a skill. They leave with some type of certification.
But why would you do that if it hurts? Like, just speaking from a capitalist point of view, why would you do that if it hurts your business? Because it's going to take your employees away from time with you.
Because that's how I got Molly. Because that's how I got Amber. Because I could go down the list of some of our best performers, and they came through that channel. It is actually far less expensive as a business to hire smart people with give a damn, with some empathy, which you can interview for. Like you can detect that. Bring them in and teach them what they need to know to do a good job. If they stay, now you've got someone that has a much better chance of succeeding than if you go out there and hire somebody who supposedly already knows how to do it. You're paying them way more money out of the gate. Take a lot longer to interview them. You take a lot to hire them. Take a lot longer to fire them. The cost of getting rid of a bad employee or an underperforming employee is insanely expensive. It is actually a cost savings, although you're incurring the investment on the front end to bear this burden of education. So from a capitalist perspective, I can make an argument for it. I could also make an argument that I just think it's kind of the right thing to do, but I also think that that's where you're going to get the best. Because I think like some of the smartest kids, some of the most motivated, they're not the ones that are, they're the ones who are thinking, maybe I can do this on my own, right? But who will take me on, right? If you're the company that raised your hand and says, I'll hire you and I'll teach you how to do this stuff, they'll be far more loyal.
I guess also
great people.
And I guess also for your employees, it's not such a bad thing for them to teach skills because it's going to force them to learn what's the latest and greatest.
It forces them to learn. It forces them to systemize. You have these people who are new asking, stupid questions. And I did throw up the air quotes for those, simply listening, because they're asking basic questions, which kind of like, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. And so sometimes you'll adjust. We learn the most when we teach. Right. So I think it's really great. It is a little bit difficult when somebody's being pulled away from their day-to-day activities. It is an investment. Not going to pretend that it isn't, but I think that this is the future. It's also the past. It's also the present.
Well, there's a great theory of learning. I think Frank Shamrock, the mixed martial arts instructor, calls this the plus minus equal. To learn something, you need a plus. You need mentors and someone to teach you. You need equals, people who are going to challenge you, like, peers who you run ideas by and who, test them and so on. And then you need a minus, someone to teach, because not only are you paying it forward, but it's like you just said, it forces you to systematize, it forces you to ask the questions that are important right now. So it actually solidifies the learning that you have. And I think that's a good model for education as opposed to testing and regurgitating facts and so on. And that's what you're basically saying should happen now at a kind of corporate level, or not corporate level, but kind of real world level.
Yeah, and I do think at corporate. I mean, but this is how engineers are trained, right? This is how, in many respects, doctors get trained. They go through, an internship.
They don't learn anything. I mean, they don't learn like they don't learn how to like cut open 60,000 bodies like in medical school. They only do it by doing it.
Yeah.
But like I was a computer programmer in my first jobs, and I majored in computer science. But I was such a bad programmer at my first job. This is after undergrad and grad school for computer science. I was such a bad programmer, they had to send me to remedial classes at like this AT&T facility so I could program in the real world. Because when you have to actually deliver, it's a lot different than passing tests.
Yeah, so why not just take these kids, whether they're right out of college or the kids who graduate from college but couldn't quite find a job, or heck, take a motivated 18, 19-year-old, right? Where they still can be shaped, where they haven't learned a lot of bad habits, bring them into your organization, right? Do what the master electrician did for my dad, right? And what electricians and plumbers are still doing today, and what doctors and engineers are still doing today, but they require the degree. Do that at the small business level. Do that at your company. Be willing to bring them on. Be willing to invest in their training, invest in them. Know that some of them will leave and go off and do other things. Some of them will stay, and in the long run, you're going to have a much better feeder to grow great talent in your organization.
So here's a challenge. Kids don't know this, right? They don't know that you or I or maybe 1,000 other companies out there are willing to kind of take on the burden of educating them, for our own selfish reasons, but also for altruistic reasons. So I wonder if there's some way to kind of make like a pact or organization where we kind of say out loud as a group, hey, one of your choices is now us, and we're willing to, because it's not actually a burden, there's selfish reasons for us too. I wonder if there's a way we could kind of communicate across the transom of kind of, the social need for education to parents and kids, that we're here also, that we're a choice.
Yeah, let them know that there is an option. I mean, among small businesses aggregating together saying, we would love to hire, your kid and pay them money and teach them a skill so that they don't necessarily have to go to college. I'd love to be a part of something like that.
You probably, like your curriculum, quote unquote, I'm going to do air quotes also, your curriculum is different than mine. It's different from some pharma company or
I
whatever.
only know how to teach digital marketing.
Right.
But we're really good at it. Right? I mean, that's the training that's our product.
So it's almost like we all have to, I don't know, this is something to think about. I'm going to think about it because I think there's something here that we could do, because I think part of the challenge really is kids don't know that there's another option. And if they knew, because I know my 18-year-old doesn't know that there's another option. And if they knew that there was other options, they would consider it. And the parents would then be in the discussion as well. Like, hey, Mary or whoever, why don't you consider also this thing where if they accept you, somehow you have to have a burden of acceptance because they feel like they want to be accepted and validated.
Yeah.
There's this other option that you could potentially apply to where it might be cheaper and you'll learn more things. Like they don't know that yet. So I wonder if there's a way we can think about this. And I challenge the listeners to think about this also and give us ideas to how we can do this. I feel like there's something there.
If they can come up with some ideas and we can come together, then I'd love to be a part of anything. Come back on a follow-up show and announce our grand plans.
Yeah, I like that.
Our evil schemes.
So Ryan, you've helped me kind of clarify some of my thoughts on college. After 10 or 12 years of thinking about this, I think about this a lot, this issue of, because it's not only college, I also think about this in terms of high school and other forms of education. Like it kind of goes all the way through. Particularly, I encourage people to look at the history of education, and it kind of shows you where the roots of a lot of these problems are. But thanks for coming on the podcast. We've known each other for years. I was so happy to participate in your conference last fall, and I hope we continue working together for the next bunch of years.
It's been great. It's one of my favorite shows of all, and it's been a pleasure
I think we're working
being
together
on
on something. I think our organizations are working on something right now together, right?
Are our people talking to your people?
I think
That sounds so official.
Yeah. So thanks once again for coming on my podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode. It's about a topic that is so important to me. I'm really glad I had a chance to talk about it with such a smart guy. And I wanted to let you know, I also did another episode with my good friend Ryan Deiss. It's about 20 minutes. We talk all about how you can start your own business today and start making extra income or start building something up on the side so you can leave your job. We also talk about how to believe in your ideas. Millions of people have great ideas, but they don't execute. They don't know how, or they're afraid, or whatever. And Ryan and I went into a lot of detail in the interview about how to take the first step to get your idea out there in the world. So you can subscribe now to make sure you don't miss it. It's coming out in 2 days after this one. Thanks and enjoy.
Next time on The James Altucher Show.
Let's say you were going to start right now. What would you do right now if you were going to start an internet marketing business or an internet commerce business?
Yeah, so, and I think about it as just business. I mean, the internet is a location.
Right.
What I would do today is, number one, you have to start off with something that's truly a great product. Hopefully that goes without saying. You have to have a product or a service or an idea or something that's good and that's meaningful.
How do you know what's good, though?
Well, you got to go out there. I mean, you got to believe in it, right? And sometimes you're just delusional. And on the other end of the spectrum, there's so many people sitting there right now listening to this with some amazingly great ideas, but they don't believe in themselves.
What can they do to what's the first step in having belief in yourself? It's hard for everybody.
It is. And I think it's first an acknowledgement that it is hard for everyone, but also an acknowledgement that being extraordinary isn't that hard, isn't that much more work. It's extraordinary. And everyone is so astoundingly ordinary. And so it does take, the hope is that someone just believes enough that they'll take that first step. But sometimes what it takes is somebody believing in them, and doing it. But at the end of the day, look, put something out there. Put a product out there, put an idea out there, put a book out there, write a blog post, right? If it gets traction, then it's good. It should be seen.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power, so how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/advance. That's oracle.com/advance. Oracle.com/advance.